Did you know that you might unknowingly be following or copying someone? Welcome to the channel. Stick around to find out more. And don't forget to subscribe for your daily dose of facts.
Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating psychological phenomenon. Have you ever wondered why we subconsciously mirror the people around us? It's this hidden, almost totally invisible behavior, but it actually shapes our social lives in some incredibly profound ways. I want you to think about your absolute closest friends for a second, or, even a coworker you just spend way too much time with. Chances are you've done this without even realizing it. You might find yourself naturally slipping into their speech rhythms, maybe adopting their exact posture during a meeting, or blurting out a slang word you would literally never use otherwise. You're not doing it on purpose, but your body is just automatically syncing up with theirs. Well, this everyday habit is actually known as the chameleon effect. And yeah, it's named exactly after the reptile that seamlessly changes its skin to blend into its environment. In our case, it describes our natural, completely unconscious tendency to imitate someone else's verbal and nonverbal cues. We basically become social chameleons, passively changing our colors to match whoever we're interacting with. It's like building a hidden bridge of connection.
So what exactly is the chameleon effect in a scientific sense? To figure that out, we need to look at a massive breakthrough from 1999.
We're talking about the landmark study by psychological researchers Tanya Chartrand and John Bargh. This was the moment in psychology that definitively proved that just perceiving another person's behavior directly causes us to mimic it. They wanted to see, would strangers automatically copy each other? And if they did, does it actually make them like each other more? Their research unfolded through 3 pretty brilliant experiments. First, they threw participants in a room with undercover actors. If the actor rubbed their face, or, say, jiggled their foot, the participant unknowingly did the exact same thing. Second, they proved this mimicry creates a real bond. When an actor intentionally mirrored a participant, that participant later reported liking the actor way more and felt the whole interaction was just smoother. And finally, they looked at empathy. They found that highly empathetic people, the ones who easily take someone else's perspective, actually mimicked their partners significantly more. Here is the crucial point driving the whole shebang, the perception-behavior link. Literally, just by witnessing a movement, like seeing someone smile or cross their legs, your brain is actively teeing up your own body to do the exact same thing. It's a totally automatic mechanism. You don't even need a specific goal to befriend the person. Simply perceiving the action is enough to pull the trigger on the behavior. Which brings us to the science of social glue. Like, why are we evolutionarily hardwired to do this, and what do mirror neurons have to do with it? Researchers actually conceptualize this mimicry as our biological social glue. Think about early humans. They were highly dependent on their social groups just to survive. So any behaviors that maintained bonds between group members were absolutely vital. By mimicking each other, our ancestors created this psychological harmony that let them cooperate and stay alive. It was quite literally a matter of life and death. If the person next to you froze perfectly still because there was a predator nearby, you needed to freeze too. And biologically, this is driven by mirror neurons. These are specialized brain cells that fire both when we do an action and when we just observe someone else doing it. They create a mental simulation of the other person's experience, which is the biological foundation for why we so effortlessly sync up. To put that into perspective, just look at the data from Chartrand and Bargh's study. When interacting with an empathetic partner, participants increase their face rubbing by 30% and their foot waggling by a massive 50%. These aren't just minor statistical blips. These are huge spikes in unconscious physical mimicry. It shows exactly how desperately our brains want to connect with the person sitting across from us.
Okay, so that's the unconscious part. But what about intentional mimicry and pacing? How can you actually use this to your advantage?
We've got to draw a line here between the natural, biological, social glue we just talked about and the deliberate tactic known as intentional pacing. Pacing's taught in fields like neurolinguistic programming, where you intentionally imitate someone to manufacture rapport and make them feel comfortable. But a quick warning, if you aren't super subtle about it, people will feel like they're being mocked, which obviously instantly destroys any trust. But when it's done right, it's a total game changer. Therapists subtly mirror posture to make clients feel deeply understood. Salespeople match a client's tone to build rapid trust. Research even shows that on successful first dates, people don't just mirror posture, their actual heart rates and skin conductance literally sync up. No way, right? It even applies to tech. Studies show we find VR avatars way more likable when they're programmed to subtly mimic our head movements. But, we really need to talk about when mimicry goes too far. Because blending in isn't always a positive, healthy thing. For some individuals, the chameleon effect actually morphs into a chronic trauma response, known as fawning. Fawning happens when mimicking is used as a desperate shield against abuse or rejection. Instead of using mimicry to build healthy rapport, a person continuously changes their behavior, their opinions, their whole personality, just to appease others and avoid conflict at all costs. When someone is stuck in that people-pleasing survival mode, they become so hyper-aware of social cues that they can entirely lose their own identity. We're talking extreme rejection sensitivity and a total inability to set boundaries, basically just agreeing to things that contradict their own core values. In these situations, cognitive behavioral therapy can be absolutely vital to help them rebuild their authentic self and feel safe without needing to constantly wear a mask.
All right, let's pivot back to the positive. How do you safely harness your inner chameleon for practical, authentic connection?
Well, physically speaking, there are two main ways we pull this off. First, there's mirror-wise mimicry, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like looking into a reflection. If they move their right hand, you move your left. Then there's anatomical mimicry, which is an exact match. They tap their left foot, so you tap your left foot. Knowing these mechanics just helps you stay a bit more aware of your own body language during those high-stakes conversations. So here's your practical cheat sheet. Say you're in a job interview. Subtly matching the interviewer's posture establishes a really strong sense of professional fit. On a first date, pacing your partner's speech rate can quickly build romantic rapport. And in a tense, heated situation, you can actually de-escalate conflict by initially matching the person's tone so they feel heard, and then slowly lowering your own volume and tempo. It naturally guides them right back down to a calmer state.
I absolutely love this quote from Dr. Tanya Chartrand. It reminds us that, at its core, the chameleon effect really just means you are an observant, highly empathetic human being who is genuinely paying attention to the person in front of you. Mimicry is just the physical manifestation of your willingness to connect. So, the next time you catch yourself adopting a friend's mannerisms or repeating your favorite phrase, pause and ask yourself, are you a natural chameleon effortlessly building social glue, or are you just trying to blend in? And maybe more importantly, who is mimicking you right now without you even realizing it? Being aware of how we connect is the first step to truly mastering our social worlds. See you next time.